Welcome. To truly ditch anxiety, there are key principles necessary to have in place. And today I'm going to share these with you. How anxiety shows up for every person might be completely different, from the ruminating and fearful thoughts to various physical symptoms, including palpitations. And then there's the spectrum of emotions from overwhelm to feeling numb. It's the devastating consequences of anxiety that are detrimental to your quality of life. It impacts areas like your ability to attend meetings or social functions. Maybe as a professional, your productivity is suffering and you obsessively go over the tasks, worry about the deadlines, just to ensure that you're getting things done just right. And maybe even imposter syndrome sets in. At home, maybe you're overreacting to the kids, your partner, family. You don't sleep, so you're exhausted, completely drained of energy. Maybe you're unable to drive without anxiety kicking in, so you stay home and it becomes difficult to complete or carry out any basic tasks for daily living, like grocery shopping. So the impact and consequences of anxiety on daily life, relationships, how you feel about yourself is why you are here. Before we continue, let me tell you a little about me. I'm Angela Liberté, a professional counsellor for more than 2.5 decades, a health coach and practitioner with holistic health and well-being. I worked in medical research and medical education for almost a decade, and in the school environment, working with staff, families, and students. And I'm the founder of the Liberté strategy. I am truly passionate about working with those who suffer from anxiety. I support and empower them on their journey to resilience, inner peace, and emotional balance. Now, it's not the symptoms, but the consequences of those symptoms on your life that are debilitating, affecting your quality of life. And the biggest impact is on the relationship that you have with yourself, your self-worth, your self-esteem, and how you think about yourself. For many in the professional environment, the pressure that is put on yourself can seem insurmountable. So specializing in working with those who live with the impact of anxiety was a natural progression in my career, because I know firsthand what anxiety is like. Over the course of time, I was worrying about all the what ifs that never happened, thoughts that spun out of control. They stopped me sleeping, often leaving me completely exhausted and emotionally overwhelmed. So I want you to understand that I've been where you are, the fearful thoughts, the feeling of being totally stuck, frozen, unable to move. So with this in common, it's important to me that you know who you're listening to and that you learn from a qualified professional counsellor. I have curated a step-by-step strategy that encompasses the principles that I'm about to share with you that enables the achievement of taking control, gaining personal peace and emotional balance. Now, my own achievement in ditching anxiety was predicated on making a decision. I knew that for things to really change, I had to be proactive and make changes. And that's when I started down the track on this journey that got me where I am today, here with you. If I didn't make that decision for change, to embrace some discomfort, I would probably still be trying a myriad of techniques and various solutions, trying to convince myself to push through each moment of each day. So if you're trying to be rational, trying to control everything about how you feel, how your body feels, to control the emotional overwhelm, and you're doing the best you can, I'm proud of you, but don't settle. Be content with your efforts so far, but don't settle. So the first principle in the Liberté strategy is this: connection of mind, body, and emotions. Let me explain. Have you ever been so stressed out that you got a headache or a stomach ache, or your thoughts racing at a mile a minute so you couldn't go to sleep? These are simple examples of the connection of mind, body, and emotion. The symptoms of anxiety show up in your thoughts, so your mind. They show up in your body as aches, pains, tingling sensations, and they show up in your emotions, whether you're feeling fearful, overwhelmed, or numb. Now, this doesn't list them all, but you see the separation here: body, mind, and emotions. We try to clear the mind, maybe with meditations, or people will say, don't think about it. That's easier said than done. And there's the emotions. We try to dump them, maybe by journaling or talk therapy. You feel emotional and people will say, get a grip, get over it, move on. But those emotions are huge, right in front of you. On the inside, you might be thinking, how? You try to stop the palpitations, the symptoms in the body. So we try breathing exercises. You count while you inhale, count while you exhale. Or you worry about every sensation in the body, catastrophizing what might be wrong with you. Take a breath, we're told. Well, I breathe all day long. Breathing is in the body, and so is yoga. Now, you might have tried all the techniques, breath work, meditation, yoga, and you still don't feel like you have the ability to control your mind, body, and emotions. Traditional therapy is a top-down approach. It focuses on the rational, logical part of the brain, and this top-down approach pleads with your mind to be better. There's no effect or assistance for the body or the emotions, and many of my clients have been in traditional therapy for a long time, often leaving the counsellor's office feeling better for a while. Anxiety and trauma is processed in the body and the nervous system, not the mind. And this is probably why talk therapy isn't working for you, to fully release your trauma or to deal with your anxiety. The focus of traditional talk therapy is on the frontal lobe, and this is the logic center of the brain. But since anxiety is stored often in the body, focusing on the logic center isn't really the most effective way to release it. The other thing is, when we talk about an experience or the way we're feeling, our body doesn't understand time like we do. It lives in the present. So when we talk about and experience, our body thinks we're actually experiencing it. And if we force our logic center to revisit an event that gives rise to anxiety, our unconscious mind or our body is basically reliving that over and over. So these techniques are great for working on one aspect, whether it's yoga or breathing. They work on one aspect, whether it is the mind, body, or emotions, but they don't have a long-lasting effect. The connection of mind, body, and emotion is much more powerful than many people believe. In fact, the last couple of decades, a lot of medical research has been done to prove this dynamic connection. You may have heard the healthcare philosophy, holistic medicine. This means that the whole person is treated, mind, body, and emotions, rather than just the symptoms. And there is science behind the connection of mind, body, and emotions. Years ago, the general thought about the brain was that it was separate from the body, that it was the command center that operated apart from or separate to the body. But research has strongly shown that the brain and body are significantly intertwined, showing that our thoughts and emotions can impact plenty of bodily functions, such as blood pressure, sleep, heart rate, and more. There was a study that investigated whether Mind Body Skills Group program would help veterans who were struggling with PTSD. The participants learned and utilized mind-body techniques for 10 weeks to see if their symptoms would increase, decrease, or stay the same. But the conclusion showed that the participants had significant improvement in their symptoms. They were less hypervigilant, they felt less angry, and they slept better. So this is why I decided to dive into the subconscious using neuroplasticity and NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming. The Liberté strategy can give you a clear path forward using strategies that link thoughts, our emotional landscape, and our body. And this link is really strong and should not be overlooked. Deepak Chopra says, every cell is eavesdropping on your internal dialogue. Remember, the definition of holistic health says when someone is in a state of wellness, there is no separation of mind, body, and emotions. All elements of the self are in harmonious balance. Within the Liberté strategy, we use bottom-up approaches that are evidence-based therapies that focus on the body, emotions, and instinctive or reactive parts of the brain to manage anxiety. This is connecting mind, body, and emotions. The second principle I'll talk to you about is mindset or focus. We take a major turn when we check our mindset. For where your attention is, your energy goes. I'm sure you're all familiar with positive reinforcement. Well, negative reinforcement works the same way. Your thoughts are your guide and not who you are. For example, if you're always considering what you don't want, then in fact you're reinforcing what you don't want. And when stuff happens, it reinforces those thoughts. See, I knew that could happen, or that would happen. Did you know that you have on an average of 65,000 thoughts a day, and 95% are the same each day? How are they affecting you physically and emotionally? Think about where your thoughts are taking you, and let me put this to you. Consider it well. You might want to write it down. You are not your thoughts. Let me provide some insight into what a neural pathway is. These are links in the brain, and these pathways connect every single thought that you have ever had. Now, here's a real-life example of how they work. Let's say you're in a public space and the smell around you triggers a headache and nausea. There's a neural pathway that's formed here that relates to a public space. The pathway is public space, headache, nausea. Let's say you don't think of it so much the first time. So the next weekend or the next week, you go to another large open space, maybe a shopping centre or a concert. And it happens again, and that pathway is beginning to be reinforced. Once it happens a few times, the pathway becomes really strong. The pathway began as a single track, but grows and becomes a motorway, large, with very strong associations. And once that's been formed, your reactions, whenever your brain thinks of a public space or similar place, automatically and instantly associates it with headache and nausea. The anticipation of these sensations is what we call anxiety or fear of an unwanted future. Now, anxiety is there to get us to act in this situation. It's there to prevent us from going to a public place and experiencing this sensation, although it's unlikely that public spaces are dangerous for you. But here's the upside. Brain pathways or associations are able to be created so that new neural pathways are created for safety and for healing. Right now, you might be thinking, how can you ever add something new when so much space is taken up already? Imagine a jar full of sand. Each grain is representative of one of your thoughts, your beliefs, your focus that your mind is just full of. All this alongside your racing thoughts, your to-do list, your grocery shopping, your appointments, your deadlines, your tasks, your chores, your children, your partner, your stuff. Seems impossible to think to fit anything else in. But it's time to replace some thoughts and get uncomfortable in a new comfort zone, one that leads you towards calm with a peaceful mindset. Let me ask you this: what's important to you? Take a moment to think what's truly important. Now, we might say automatically, well, family, health. But how can we show up for our family or even ourselves as far as our health goes if we are not the best version of ourselves? Maybe we don't work well achieving our health goals. We're just not performing optimally. I challenge you to consider your own needs, what you need to fill up your own cup. The classic, put on your own oxygen mask first before you put it on others. So with that in mind, what's important? Having peace of mind, responding rather than reacting, having the energy to spend quality time with your family, being able to do the things that you love and enjoy. So will you put yourself first so that you can give the best of you to others while you live well? The final principle that I'll talk about today has several elements and undergirds the previous two, connecting mind, body, and emotions, and mindset and focus. This principle envelops and propels you towards inner calm and a healthy resilience in all and any situation. I'm referring to the principle of support and accountability with step-by-step strategies. Do this with a professional who's there to answer your questions, providing support, a shoulder to lean on. So the elements of these principles are, there's accountability, where you're seen and acknowledged to be on track. The support, where your questions are answered, you get encouragement, and you are propelled towards the transformation that you desire for inner peace, emotional balance, taking back control. And then there's the step-by-step plan that takes you by the hand and shows you exactly what to do to take control. Here's a story of a client that I'll call Sophie. She was a successful businesswoman in her mid-40s. She had a demanding job that required her to travel frequently to meet tight deadlines. Despite her achievements, Sophie was dealing with anxiety that had been gradually increasing over the years. She often found herself worrying about her work, her family, and her future. And her her anxiety had started to impact her performance at work hugely, and as well as her relationships with loved ones. Sophie decided to seek help for her anxiety, and we connected. Consequently, she embarked on the Liberté strategy. Now, the program focuses on using strategies that use neuroplasticity to form those new neural connections. It reorganizes existing ones and changes the strength of the connections between neurons in response to learning, experiences, and environmental factors. Sophie worked closely with me to implement these strategies, learning how to identify and challenge negative self-talk. Her mindset was shifting. We set realistic goals for Sophie, and she prioritized self-care. Within a short time frame, Sophie really noticed a change in her anxiety levels. She felt more in control of her thoughts, her emotions, and was able to manage stressful situations more effectively. And now Sophie proudly proclaims, "I ditched anxiety." Here's another outcome from one of my clients. Now, I share these so that you can know that it's possible for you too. Maria had been seeing a conventional therapist for some time, lots of talk therapy over many sessions. Now, when we met, Maria was still desperate to make change. Once we connected, Maria embarked on the Liberté strategy. She started to see results very quickly. Her fearful thoughts came under control. Taking control and ditching the anxiety has transformed her day-to-day life. She is now living well, with peace of mind, know that she's well, and she has taken control. She has no need to be fearful, and a calm mind is hers. I recently asked another client, Cindy, what was the aspect of the program that you enjoyed the most? And she said, the strategies, real world tools that teach you to deal with the triggers and ditch anxiety for good. You're here today because you want personal transformation, to live a happy, joyful life, to enjoy daily experiences, achieving your work-life goals, to sleep well, to socialize with confidence in who you are. You want to ditch the overwhelm, have balanced emotions, and you don't want to react anymore. You want to know that you are well. There is hope and there is a way, and I want to help you. The way that I can do this is if you schedule a Find Out More assessment call. For the call, I'm going to help you establish clear goals needed to deal with anxiety. We'll get clear on your situation, getting clarity as to how anxiety affects you and what you've been doing to date. We'll look at how you see your future and if there are obstacles or challenges that would derail your success. You'll find out why what you've tried has not worked, and you'll be offered possible options to move forward. This way, by the time the call is over, you'll leave with knowledge that will propel you forward with a plan. Listen, not everyone is offered a place in the Liberté strategy. However, you will leave the call with clarity and have more confidence in your own situation and thoughts. And if you are offered a place, there is no obligation to join. Let me put this to you. What is the true cost of remaining the same as you are now? And what do you want your life to look like in 6 months from now? I look forward to connecting with you. Click the button, schedule a call, and I look forward to connecting with you. Until next time, may you be well.